Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka and we're phoning it in this week. Listen, Wednesdays have been hard for me ever since I went back to school, and as a result, today this is how people tweeted about Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2014. Good Yu-Gi-Oh! Morning! What's your favorite hashtag synchro monster? So today I asked you what your Yu-Gi-Oh! Pet peeves are. Personally, mine is when people reference YouTube videos in the middle of games. I love Rada. Think he's funny. There's a time and a place for the pot of greed joke, and the place is not locals, and the time isn't every fucking time you resolve desires.
The first word, draw, consists of 4 letters.
When players complain about losing to you because of your meta deck and you're on Rogue. Someone at Charlotte was complaining about me playing meta. I was on Generator. You fucking meta sheeple. You can't win without a powerful deck like Generator. Ultima says, obviously the biggest are Yugi boomers who complain that the modern game isn't like how it was in DMGX. Not only is the horse beaten to death, but the opinion spouted are so misinformed 99% of the time. I wonder who has a video out about one of those videos. This only works if Dire actually did her job, so we'll see. I'm literally so annoyed when people are bad sports. This isn't the Olympics, it's locals. You're playing Ojama. The prize is $10 in boosters. Chill. I'll permit pop-offs like under the right circumstances. If you're at a YCS and it's the go round, like Hani popping off at the end of game 3 of one of the best finals in modern memory, but like, if it's round 2 of locals and you're going nuts because you beat a Blue Eyes White Dragon opponent, congratulations. You could have gotten the same experience by loading onto a Luke Von Karma stream and betting on Duelist A. My biggest pet peeve is people who exclusively ask, what does that do, rather than read a card. Glad you said it. This is a top one for me as well. There's so many people where I'll be like, Rhino Heart, and they'll be like, okay, what does that do? And I'm like, everything. You want to advance the game state, so you have to kind of summarize, but you can't editorialize because cards do too much, right? Like, if I explain to you a card and then you fuck up the nuances of the card, I feel like an asshole because I could have explained it better. Playing too quickly. It is understandable to make sure we don't go to time, but I get overloaded when a lot of card effects I don't know are used quickly. It makes me feel very annoying when I have to ask what cards do 3 times in a minute. I had one of these at NAWCQ 2015. My opponent was playing the fucking Felgrand Arcbrave deck. It was a structure that had just come out and they were playing a constructed version of it. I was on BA and I literally asked what Felgrand did at least 3 times in the first game. I'm like, I'm sorry, can I read it one more time? And the guy looks at me, he's like, text didn't change since the last time you read it. This card's been out for 3 days. Can you calm the fuck down? We all know this player and slightly pity them, but the guy who comes to locals playing stun or stun adjacent strategies. This player thinks they're hot stuff when they win game 1, but get pissy when someone beats them. I feel bad because right now the format is so complex that a lot of people feel like in order to keep up, they have to play stun. I know a couple of people in my locals that come every week with a more tricked out version, more teched out version of basically 30 trap.deck. It's very frustrating to beat them because with decks now, if you let them resolve one card effect, they're in the game. They do get huffy. They're like, I had to play this boring ass deck to stand any chance of winning, and now I'm learning I don't even stand a chance of winning. People who are terminally obsessed with their awful pet decks being good, you know, the ones loudly insisting that Heraldic is pretty good, are asking what Umbral Horror needs to be meta. I get it. I have pet decks too. I mean, Callie still thinks Labyrinth is playable, but please get your heads out of your asses. I have respect for pet deckers, but I don't have respect for people who show up in meta threads and they're like, you know, actually Super Quant is a viable option in this format. If you didn't do that, I had game. Well, no shit, that's why I did it. When people are constantly on edge because they think you might be cheating. It's especially wild to me when I seen this done at bottom tables. It's strange. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was well known for a long time of being like a haven for people who were good at sleight of hand, who could like, you know, scum wins off you by like cutting their deck in a particular way. While that does still happen, by and large, the player base now has kind of stopped that sort of behavior. Certainly, again, it does happen. I understand that, but it's nowhere near as rampant, especially in the top tier of contention than it was in like 2009. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a pretty comprehensive tier of attack values, and it pisses me off when they're broken. Access code is probably the most egregious example. It invalidates entire archetypes of make a big 4K towers, but there are others that make you go, why is this card so big? Significant amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, you read them and you go, this card could be like 2,000 attack less. Opponents eating food at locals. I had someone eating actual Doritos, and I didn't want them touching my Fenriers. You just shouldn't be allowed to buy Doritos or Cheetos at locals. Pringles, that's okay. Fritos, you're on thin fucking ice here, buddy. Pick something a little less greasy. Funyuns. Whatever happened to Funyuns? When was the last time you all saw Funyuns in a store?
All around me are familiar faces.
When people complain about playing specific staple cards, like why wouldn't I put them in my deck? Especially if I'm using something low tier like Blue Eyes to begin with. It's a special kind of person who like sees a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck profile and is like, ugh, of course you're playing Lightning Storm, meta sheep. Like, dude, take the wins when you can get them. You should be thanking Raw that a Blue Eyes profile is being uploaded in the year of our Lord 2023 on a channel not named Team Samurai X1. Combo heads on Sims and IRL. Combo heads. Did we finally find the combo player slur? Yu-Gi-Oh! Players writing off control stun decks as anti-fun, never acknowledging that control decks are genuinely interesting and force you to play in a new way. It is actually very strange that this exists. In no other card game is stun as hated as in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, in Magic the Gathering, you're not happy if you sit down across the table from a prison deck, but like, you'll deal with it. I think that the animosity in Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes from the fact that like, tools in Yu-Gi-Oh! For stun are so much more comprehensive than they are in any other card game. Imagine if Magic had a card that was just like, monsters can't use their effects. People still complaining about Pendulum and how they broke the game when there have been 2 Pendulum decks that were ever that good, Pepe and Pend FTK. So that's 1, Cleaford Erasure, but 2, it's been almost 9 years you can learn the mechanic. I'm gonna be honest with you, I get it. You all know that I am anti-Electromite Action, and I've been that ever since Electromite was released, but those of you who have watched me on Roulette and in 10-minute testings know that I actually harbor a deep respect for Pendulum strategies. I like me some Abyss Actor, I love me some Metal Foes, big fan of Magispector. A ton of archetypes that I think are really cool also happen to be Pendulum strategies. But it's so impressively difficult to explain to players what a Pendulum deck is doing. When people just start talking to players that are in the middle of the game, I understand your friends or whatever, but let us focus. I do that constantly. There's multiple people at my locals that riffle shuffle their decks. What? They do the bridge and everything? When people spend the entire match complaining about how much their archetype sucks, if you aren't having fun playing it, play something else. I do sometimes do this. I'll like do something and then I'll go, this deck is ass. In my defense, it's always warranted. I hate it when decks that have a cool identity or aesthetic end up getting reduced to a vessel for floodgates. The Weather Painters have become D-Shifter Macro Skill Drain Turbo. That's a great point. Significant amount of these combo archetypes did the same for Halka Fibrax. It was like, okay, like you can do cool stuff with the punk cards, or you can use 2 monsters to make Halk, and then you make a Rorodon, and then at the end of the day, my number 1 pet peeve is that you have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! To be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. Disgusting. Tune in next week when we read more Twitter comments instead of playing the fucking card game.